Sarah's world was small, confined by invisible walls built of fear and pain. Her childhood home wasn't a haven, it was a battlefield. Harsh words were weapons and raised hands were constant threats. Her father's anger was a storm that raged unpredictably, leaving Sarah constantly on edge, bracing for the next blow, whether physical or emotional. Her mother, worn down and defeated, offered little protection, lost in her own struggle for survival. School offered a brief respite, but even there, Sarah felt different, marked by an unspoken sadness that kept her apart. Playdates were rare, birthday parties non-existent. She learned to become invisible, a shadow in the corner, hoping to avoid attention, to avoid becoming a target. As she grew older, the physical abuse lessened, but the emotional scars deepened. Sarah became wary of all physical contact. A friendly pat on the back, a comforting arm around the shoulder, these gestures, meant to offer support, sent shivers of fear down her spine. She flinched at sudden movements, her body always tense, ready to defend itself. Hugs, the simple expression of love and affection, were completely foreign to her. She couldn't imagine what it felt like to be held safely without the fear of pain or anger. For Sarah, touch was synonymous with hurt, and love felt like a dangerous illusion. The invisible walls Sarah had built weren't made of brick or stone, but of fear and mistrust. They were high and strong, designed to keep everyone out, to protect the fragile heart she kept hidden inside. Loneliness became her constant companion. She worked as a librarian, surrounded by stories of love and connection, yet feeling utterly disconnected from them. Her apartment was small and sparsely decorated, reflecting the emptiness within her. Evenings were spent reading, losing herself in fictional worlds where happy endings seemed possible, though she couldn't imagine one for herself. She avoided social gatherings, making excuses to stay home rather than face the awkwardness of navigating conversations and the potential for unwanted physical contact. Dating was out of the question. The idea of letting someone close enough to see her vulnerability was terrifying. She feared that any man she met would eventually reveal the same controlling and abusive tendencies as her father. So she remained alone, convinced that solitude was a safer option than risking further heartbreak. Her heart ached for connection, but the fear of pain was always stronger. Sarah lived a life of quiet desperation, longing for something she didn't believe she deserved or even thought was possible. She was trapped in a cycle of isolation, a prisoner of her past. John carried his grief like a well-worn coat, comfortable yet heavy. His wife, Mary, had passed away 2 years prior after a long illness, leaving a hole in his life that he wasn't sure could ever be filled. He missed her laughter, her touch, the simple comfort of her presence. He missed having someone to share his day with, someone to hold close at night. But John wasn't a man to wallow in despair. Mary wouldn't have wanted that. He honored her memory by continuing to live his life with kindness and compassion. He volunteered at the local soup kitchen, helping those less fortunate, and tended to his garden with the same care he had given Mary. While the pain of his loss was still present, a quiet hope began to stir within him. He knew he couldn't replace Mary, but he also knew that life was meant to be shared. He longed for companionship, for someone to laugh with again, someone to share his life with, even if it was different than before. He wasn't actively searching for love, but he was open to the possibility of connection, to the gentle whisper of a new beginning. His heart, though bruised, was still capable of loving. Their paths crossed amidst the quiet rustle of pages and the hushed whispers of the library. John, searching for a book on gardening, wandered into the history section by mistake. Sarah, meticulously shelving books, noticed him looking lost. She almost didn't approach him, her instinct was always to avoid interaction. But something in his kind eyes, a gentle sadness that mirrored her own, compelled her forward. "Can I help you find something?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. John turned, his face lighting up with a warm smile. "Yes, thank you. I'm looking for a book on gardening, but I seem to be completely turned around." As Sarah directed him to the gardening section, John couldn't help but notice her fragile demeanor. Her shoulders were slightly hunched, her gaze averted, and there was a subtle tremor in her hands. He sensed a deep vulnerability radiating from her, a silent plea for kindness and understanding. He felt an immediate urge to protect her, to shield her from whatever pain she carried. He couldn't explain it, but he knew in that brief encounter that Sarah was someone special, someone who needed a friend. John didn't push. He understood that trust wasn't given freely, it was earned slowly and carefully. He started by simply being a regular at the library, always offering Sarah a friendly smile and a brief, polite greeting. He'd ask her about her day, genuinely listening to her responses, never pressing her for more than she was willing to share. He noticed her favorite type of tea and would occasionally bring her a cup, leaving it on the counter with a small note that said, "Hope you have a good day." He never lingered, never made her feel uncomfortable. He respected her boundaries, always maintaining a safe distance. One day he noticed she was struggling to reach a high shelf. Instead of rushing to help, he asked, "Would you like some assistance with that?" giving her the option to decline without feeling obligated. These small acts of kindness, repeated consistently over time, began to chip away at the walls Sarah had built around herself. She started to anticipate his visits, finding herself smiling when she saw him walk through the door. She began to feel a flicker of hope, a tiny spark of belief that maybe, just maybe, not all men were like her father. John was showing her, without words, that she was safe, that she was valued, and that she was worthy of kindness. One afternoon, Sarah was recounting a particularly frustrating encounter with a difficult patron. She was animated, her voice rising slightly with emotion, a rare display of vulnerability that John found both endearing and heartbreaking. As she finished her story, her voice trembling, John instinctively reached out, wanting to offer a comforting hand on her arm. The moment his fingers brushed against her skin, Sarah recoiled as if burned. Her eyes widened with panic and she flinched away from him, her breath catching in her throat. The color drained from her face, leaving her pale and shaken. I'm so sorry," she stammered, her voice barely audible. She wrapped her arms around herself as if trying to contain the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. The progress she had made, the fragile trust she had begun to build, seemed to crumble in that instant. John immediately withdrew his hand, his face etched with concern. He hadn't meant to frighten her, but he understood, in that moment, the depth of her trauma. The accidental touch had triggered something deep within her, a reminder of past hurts and a resurgence of her ingrained fear. He knew he had to tread even more carefully now, to rebuild the trust he had inadvertently broken. John's response was immediate and reassuring. He didn't apologize excessively or make a big deal out of the situation. Instead, he simply stepped back, creating more space between them. He lowered his voice, speaking softly and calmly. "Sarah," he said gently, "it's okay. I understand. I didn't mean to startle you." He paused, giving her time to process. "There's absolutely no pressure for anything you're not comfortable with. I just wanted to offer some support, but I clearly misread the situation. Please don't feel you need to apologize." He then changed the subject, steering the conversation towards something light and neutral, the weather, a book he had been reading, anything to distract her from the overwhelming fear she was experiencing. He didn't try to touch her again, not even accidentally. He made sure his body language was open and non-threatening, signaling that he posed no danger. He stayed for a few more minutes, chatting casually before excusing himself, saying he needed to pick up some groceries. He left her with a warm smile and a promise to see her again soon, leaving her feeling, if not completely at ease, at least not entirely abandoned. His understanding and lack of pressure were a balm to her frayed nerves, a silent promise that he would respect her boundaries, no matter what. Weeks turned into months, and John continued his gentle courtship, always mindful of Sarah's boundaries. He never pushed, never pressured, always letting her set the pace. He became a constant source of support, a safe harbor in her turbulent sea of emotions. One rainy afternoon, Sarah received devastating news. Her estranged mother had passed away. The news, though not entirely unexpected, hit her hard, stirring up a complex mix of grief, guilt, and unresolved emotions. She felt numb, lost, and utterly alone. John found her sitting at her desk, staring blankly at a computer screen, tears silently streaming down her face. He approached her cautiously, his heart aching for her pain. "Sarah," he said softly, kneeling beside her. "I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Then, in a moment of profound vulnerability, she reached out and took his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "John," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion, I don't know what to do." He simply held her hand, offering silent comfort. After a long moment, Sarah looked up at him, her eyes filled with tears. Could I have a hug?" she asked, her voice barely audible. John's heart leaped. He stood up slowly, giving her ample time to change her mind. When she didn't, he gently wrapped his arms around her, holding her close but not too tight. Sarah stiffened initially, her body tense and resistant. But as John held her gently, without any expectation or demand, she slowly began to relax. She rested her head against his chest, and for the first time in her life, she felt safe. The hug wasn't painful or frightening, it was warm, comforting, and profoundly healing. Tears streamed down her face, washing away years of fear and pain. In that moment, Sarah realized that a hug wasn't something to be feared, but something to be cherished. It was a connection, a comfort, a silent expression of love and support. It was the beginning of her healing journey. That first hug was a turning point, a crack in the fortress Sarah had so carefully constructed around her heart. It wasn't a magical cure, but it was a start. It showed her that touch could be something other than a source of pain and fear. It could be gentle, comforting, and even healing. Over the following weeks, Sarah began to tentatively explore the power of touch. She found herself reaching for John's hand during walks, allowing him to brush a stray hair from her face, and even initiating brief hugs when they parted ways. Each touch was a small victory, a step further away from her past and closer to a future where she could experience love and affection without fear. The hugs weren't just physical, they were emotional. They allowed her to feel connected to John on a deeper level, to share her vulnerabilities and fears without feeling judged or threatened. They provided a sense of safety and security she had never known, a feeling of being held and supported both physically and emotionally. The walls that had once seemed impenetrable began to crumble brick by brick. Sarah started to open up, to share her past with John, to confront the trauma that had haunted her for so long. The healing power of touch, combined with John's unwavering support, allowed her to rewrite her story, to reclaim her life, and to finally believe that she deserved to be loved. As Sarah continued to heal, her feelings for John deepened. What had started as gratitude and friendship blossomed into something more profound. She found herself drawn to his kindness, his patience, and his unwavering support. She admired his gentle spirit and the way he treated everyone with respect and compassion. John, too, found himself falling for Sarah. He was captivated by her strength, her resilience, and the beauty that shone through her vulnerability. He admired her intelligence, her wit, and the way she saw the world with such a unique perspective. He loved making her laugh, and he cherished the moments when she would let her guard down and truly be herself. Their dates became more frequent, progressing from casual coffee dates to romantic dinners and walks in the park. They talked for hours, sharing their hopes, their dreams, and their fears. They discovered a shared love of books, of nature, and of quiet evenings spent together. Sarah found herself thinking about John constantly, longing for his touch, his smile, and his presence in her life. She realized that she was falling in love with him, a terrifying and exhilarating realization. It was terrifying because she had never allowed herself to truly love anyone before, and she feared that she would somehow ruin it. But it was also exhilarating because she knew that John was different, that he was someone she could trust, someone who would never hurt her. John felt the same way. He knew that Sarah was special, that she was the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He was drawn to her spirit, her strength, and the vulnerability she had shown him. He loved her deeply, and he was committed to helping her heal and to building a future together. Their hearts, once broken and guarded, were now opening up to the possibility of a new and lasting love. Despite her growing feelings for John, Sarah found it difficult to fully accept his love. A voice inside her head whispered doubts and insecurities, reminding her of her past and warning her that she wasn't worthy of happiness. She feared that she was somehow broken, damaged beyond repair, and that she would eventually push John away, just as she had pushed everyone else in her life. She worried that she would unconsciously repeat the patterns of her past, becoming controlling or demanding, or somehow sabotaging the relationship. She was terrified of hurting John, of inflicting the same pain on him that she had experienced herself. Sometimes, she would find herself withdrawing, becoming distant and uncommunicative. Other times, she would test him, picking fights or pushing his boundaries, unconsciously seeking reassurance that he wouldn't abandon her. She knew that her behavior was irrational, but she couldn't help it. The fear was too strong, the wounds too deep. She desperately wanted to believe in John's love, but a part of her was convinced that it was too good to be true, that it was only a matter of time before the illusion shattered. She struggled with feelings of unworthiness, constantly questioning whether she deserved such a kind and loving man. She wondered if he truly saw her, the real her, with all her flaws and insecurities, or if he was simply seeing a projection of his own desires. Sarah knew that she needed to confront her fears and insecurities if she wanted to have a lasting relationship with John, but she didn't know where to start. The path to healing was long and arduous, and she wasn't sure she was strong enough to walk it alone. John's love for Sarah wasn't blind. He saw her struggles, her fears, and her insecurities. But instead of being deterred, he was even more determined to help her heal. His patience was unwavering, his support unconditional. He understood that Sarah's journey was a marathon, not a sprint, and he was committed to being there for her every step of the way. When Sarah withdrew, John didn't chase her. He gave her space, allowing her to process her emotions without pressure. He would send her a simple text message, letting her know he was thinking of her and that he was there if she needed anything. When Sarah tested him, John didn't react with anger or defensiveness. He listened patiently, trying to understand the root of her fears. He would calmly reassure her of his love and commitment, reminding her that he wasn't going anywhere. He encouraged her to seek professional help, offering to go with her to therapy appointments if she felt more comfortable. He researched different types of therapy and found a therapist who specialized in trauma. He never pressured her, but he gently nudged her in the right direction, always reminding her that she wasn't alone. He reminded her of her strengths, her kindness, and her resilience. He helped her see herself through his eyes, showing her the beautiful, worthy woman that he knew she was. He celebrated her small victories, acknowledging her progress and encouraging her to keep moving forward. John's unwavering patience and support were a lifeline for Sarah. He gave her the courage to confront her past, to challenge her insecurities, and to finally believe that she deserved to be loved. He showed her that love wasn't about fixing her, it was about accepting her, supporting her, and walking alongside her on her journey to healing. One evening, after Sarah had opened up about some of the details of her abuse, John shared something about his own past that he had rarely spoken about. He confessed that while Mary's illness and death weren't the same as Sarah's experience, he understood the feeling of powerlessness, the sense of not being able to protect someone you loved from suffering. He described the slow erosion of Mary's health, the helplessness he felt as he watched her fade away, and the lingering guilt he carried for not being able to do more. He explained that grief, like trauma, could leave deep scars, altering your perception of the world and making it difficult to trust in happiness again. He admitted that he had initially closed himself off after Mary's death, afraid of opening himself up to the possibility of further loss. This revelation created a profound shift in their relationship. Sarah realized that John wasn't just a kind and supportive man, he was someone who had also experienced deep pain and loss. She saw that his empathy wasn't just an abstract quality, it was born from his own personal struggles. John, in turn, recognized a shared strength in Sarah's resilience, a determination to heal and to find joy despite the darkness of her past. He admired her courage in confronting her trauma and her willingness to open her heart again. Their shared experiences of loss and pain created a bond of deep empathy and understanding. They found solace in each other's company, knowing that they weren't alone in their struggles. They learned to lean on each other for support, to offer comfort and encouragement, and to celebrate each other's triumphs, no matter how small. Their pasts, though different, had shaped them into the people they were today, and those shared experiences allowed them to connect on a level that few others could understand. With John's unwavering support and the help of her therapist, Sarah began to dismantle the walls of fear that had imprisoned her for so long. She started to challenge the negative beliefs she held about herself, recognizing that she was worthy of love and happiness. She learned to identify the triggers that caused her to withdraw or to test John, and she developed coping mechanisms to manage her anxiety. She practiced communicating her needs and her fears, trusting that John would listen without judgment. She slowly began to embrace physical intimacy, allowing herself to be vulnerable and to experience the joy of connection without fear. She learned to trust John's touch, to feel safe in his arms, and to let go of the past. There were setbacks, of course. Moments when the fear would resurface, when the old patterns would threaten to take over. But with each challenge, Sarah grew stronger, more resilient, and more confident in her ability to overcome her past. She realized that trust wasn't something that was given once and for all, it was something that had to be earned and maintained day after day through consistent acts of kindness, honesty, and support. She learned to trust John not just because he had proven himself trustworthy, but because she had proven herself capable of trusting. As Sarah's fear diminished, her love for John deepened. She no longer saw him as a potential source of pain, but as a safe haven, a partner, and a soulmate. She finally allowed herself to believe that she deserved to be loved, completely and unconditionally, and that she was capable of giving that love in return. She had finally found the courage to open her heart completely, to embrace the possibility of a future filled with love, joy, and lasting happiness. Sarah and John began to build a life together, brick by brick, with love, respect, and understanding as their foundation. They moved into a cozy cottage on the edge of town, surrounded by John's flourishing garden, a testament to his nurturing spirit. They filled their home with warmth and laughter, creating a haven where they both felt safe, cherished, and free to be themselves. They spent their days working, volunteering, and pursuing their passions, always supporting and encouraging each other. Evenings were spent cooking together, reading aloud by the fire, or simply holding each other close, enjoying the quiet comfort of their companionship. They made a conscious effort to incorporate gentle touch into their daily lives, holding hands during walks, sharing lingering hugs, and offering comforting shoulder squeezes. Sarah found joy in tending to the garden alongside John, marveling at the beauty of the flowers and the abundance of the vegetables. She discovered a newfound sense of peace and connection to nature, finding solace in the simple act of nurturing life. John, in turn, found fulfillment in helping Sarah heal, in witnessing her transformation from a fearful and isolated woman to a confident and loving partner. He cherished her smile, her laughter, and the way she looked at him with such adoration. Their life wasn't perfect, of course. There were still moments of doubt and insecurity, times when Sarah's past would cast a shadow over their present. But they faced these challenges together with honesty, communication, and an unwavering commitment to their love. They had created a new beginning, a life filled with love, respect, and the healing power of gentle touch, a testament to the transformative power of compassion and understanding. The change in Sarah was remarkable. The woman who had once been a shadow, shrinking away from the world, now stood tall, her eyes sparkling with confidence and joy. She still carried the scars of her past, but they no longer defined her. They were simply a part of her story, a reminder of how far she had come. She blossomed at the library, engaging with patrons with newfound enthusiasm and offering her assistance with genuine warmth. She started a book club, sharing her love of literature with others and creating a sense of community within the library walls. She discovered a passion for painting, filling their home with vibrant canvases that reflected her newfound joy and creativity. She even started selling her artwork at local craft fairs, sharing her talent with the world and earning a sense of accomplishment. She volunteered at a local women's shelter, offering support and encouragement to other survivors of abuse. She found purpose in helping others heal, knowing that she could offer them hope and inspiration. She laughed more freely, smiled more often, and radiated a warmth that drew people to her. She no longer feared intimacy, but embraced it, cherishing the love and connection she shared with John. Sarah had transformed from a victim into a survivor, from a prisoner of her past into the master of her future. She had discovered her own strength, her own worth, and her own ability to experience joy. She had finally learned what it meant to truly love herself, and that love radiated outward, touching everyone she met. She was living proof that healing was possible, that even the deepest wounds could be mended, and that love could conquer all. Sarah's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of human connection and the transformative power of love and compassion. It illustrates how even the deepest wounds can be healed through the support of others, and how even the most isolated individuals can find solace and belonging in a community of caring hearts. Her journey highlights the crucial role that empathy and understanding play in fostering healing and growth. John's unwavering patience and his ability to see beyond Sarah's fears to the beautiful soul within were instrumental in her transformation. It underscores the significance of gentle touch as a means of communication and connection. For Sarah, who had always associated touch with pain and fear, the experience of being held safely and lovingly was profoundly healing. It emphasizes the importance of challenging negative beliefs and embracing vulnerability. Sarah's willingness to confront her past and to open her heart to love allowed her to rewrite her story and to create a future filled with joy and purpose. Ultimately, Sarah's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for love to conquer all. It is a reminder that no one is ever truly alone, and that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future. It shows us that by reaching out to others with compassion and understanding, we can help them heal, grow, and discover their own inherent worth. It reminds us that love is not just a feeling, it is a force that can transform lives. Their wedding was a celebration of love, healing, and new beginnings. It was a small, intimate affair held in John's garden, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the warmth of their closest friends and family. Sarah wore a simple but elegant white dress, a symbol of her purity and innocence. She walked down the aisle with confidence and grace, her eyes fixed on John, the man who had shown her what love truly meant. John stood waiting for her, his eyes filled with tears of joy. He looked handsome in his navy blue suit, his face radiating happiness. The ceremony was heartfelt and emotional, filled with personal vows and expressions of love and commitment. Sarah spoke of her journey from fear to freedom, of her gratitude for John's unwavering support, and of her excitement for the future they would build together. John spoke of his admiration for Sarah's strength and resilience, of his love for her kind and gentle spirit, and of his promise to cherish and protect her for the rest of their lives. As they exchanged rings, a symbol of their eternal love, Sarah felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had finally found her happy ending, a love that was safe, supportive, and unconditional. The reception was filled with laughter, music, and dancing. Sarah and John shared their first dance as husband and wife, holding each other close and swaying to the music. They were surrounded by the love and support of their friends and family, all of whom were celebrating their union. It was a perfect day, a testament to the transformative power of love and a symbol of their commitment to each other. Their wedding was a new beginning, a promise of a future filled with joy, happiness, and lasting love. Sarah and John's future stretched before them, a tapestry woven with love, happiness, and the comforting knowledge that they would always be there for each other. They continued to nurture their garden, planting seeds of hope and watching their love bloom and grow with each passing season. They traveled the world, exploring new cultures and creating lasting memories together. They visited museums, hiked through mountains, and swam in the ocean, always hand in hand, cherishing their shared experiences. They continued to volunteer in their community, giving back to those less fortunate and spreading their message of love and compassion. They knew that their purpose in life was to help others heal and to make the world a better place. They grew old together, their love deepening with each passing year. They faced life's challenges with grace and resilience, always supporting and encouraging each other. They knew that their love was a constant source of strength, a beacon of hope in a world filled with darkness. Even in their twilight years, they never forgot the power of gentle touch. They continued to hold hands, to share lingering hugs, and to offer comforting shoulder squeezes. They knew that those small acts of affection were a reminder of their love and commitment, a symbol of their enduring bond. Their future was filled with love, laughter, and the unwavering knowledge that they would always be there for each other, through thick and thin, until the very end. Their love story was a testament to the transformative power of compassion, a reminder that even the deepest wounds can be healed and that love can conquer all. They found their happily ever after. Years later, sitting on their porch swing, watching the sunset paint the sky with vibrant colors, Sarah leaned into John, her hand gently resting on his arm. The garden around them was in full bloom, a riot of colors and fragrances, a living testament to their love and their life together. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. John turned to her, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "For what, my love?" "For everything," she replied. "For showing me what love really is. For teaching me that it's okay to be vulnerable. For giving me the courage to heal." He smiled and wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close in a warm, tender embrace. Sarah rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, a rhythm that had become the soundtrack of her life. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the comfort of John's arms, Sarah realized just how far she had come. She had transformed from a fearful and isolated woman into a confident and loving partner. She had learned to embrace life, to cherish love, and to find joy in the simple things. The hug wasn't just a physical embrace, it was a symbol of their connection, their commitment, and their enduring love. It was a reminder of all that they had overcome together, of all that they had shared, and of all that they had yet to experience. As they held each other close, Sarah knew that she would never be alone again. She had found her soulmate, her partner, and her best friend in John. He had taught her what a hug really felt like, safe, warm, and filled with love. And that was a gift that she would cherish forever. It was the perfect ending to their story, a testament to the transformative power of love and compassion.